So it's now time to hear some wisdom from Barley. If you want to come on up and bless us with a lesson this morning.
It's been a long time since I was here. Even longer since I was here speaking into whatever this contraption is. There you go. Better, I think. Okay, well, as I was preparing for this talk, I was speaking with one of my sisters. I have two, and the one that is just older than I am. And we were discussing what I was going to talk about, just, kind of looking forward, thinking. And she said that I should respect the fact that all of you have really busy lives and that your time is short, and so I should stick to about 30 seconds. I kind of like that.
I like it a lot.
And thank you very much. So Lane said when she told me that the topic for today was persistence, that she thought I was a pro at persistence. I guess I am. I've had to be persistent in so many things in my life. Been diabetic for 57 years, so I take care of that all the time. I have to be persistent virtually in everything I do. Doesn't mean I like it. Persistence takes effort, and I think I do a lot of that just automatically. But I kind of say that procrastination demands persistence. I procrastinate really, really, really well. So I think that is maybe one of those areas where I have practiced persistence, because if you put it off until 3 minutes before it's time to do it, you better be persistent in what you're doing. And we also thought that I should go back to the wonderful song from Fiddler on the Roof. I'm sure you'll recognize it instantly. It is persistence, persistence. Okay, tradition, same number of syllables, so I'm going with it. And also there's always been a lot of jokes, so when God was giving out blah, 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 I thought she said blah, 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 so I whatever. So I say that when God was giving out persistence, I thought she said resistance, and I said, I'll take a bunch. Okay, so that's where I am, right here, right now. I'm thrilled to be here with all of you, all of the faces that I see, and most of the faces I don't see, but that's just because I don't see very well. I know you're here, and I appreciate that, and I love every single one of you. So thanks for being here. Of course, can't talk about persistence if you don't know what persistence is. So I did have to look up a couple of definitions. First one is a firm or obstinate continuance in the course of actions in spite of difficulty or opposition. I can guarantee you that I am obstinate. So not that. Another part of that is working a plan even when you don't see immediate results. Okay, I can work a plan for days or weeks or months or years, and stay consistent. I can do that, so that's persistence. And also it's a consistent effort maintained daily. And that's where I start thinking, daily? Really? I mean, to be persistent, does it have to be daily? I think it does. I mean, if you are going to be persistent, you really are doing what you say day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, second by second. That's persistence. So in Big Magic, Elizabeth Gilbert says many things about persistence and creativity, and that's what the book is about. But she's an author, so many of her examples are about writing, about things that authors do and say and are. So just keep that in mind, that this all comes from the point of view of an author, which I am not. But she says, if you dedicate yourself diligently to anything for 10 years, that will make you an expert. And if you're an expert, you have had to have been persistent. So that, again, that day by day by day, okay, I can do that. She says it helps you to endure disappointment and frustration because that's part of the job of being creative. You have got to get past that frustration, get past that, just not happening today, okay, I'll keep at it. I'll keep doing that tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So that's persistence. She says in order to stay in the game, you must let go of your fantasy of perfection, which I think is very, very true. I mean, that hits me hard. If it's got to be perfect before you decide you're going to do it, you may never start. And I think that happens a whole lot, that people don't ever start something because they want it to be perfect. And it's probably not going to be perfect in that kind of term, that the whole world is looking at you, and when the whole world or a room of 20 or 30 or 40 people are looking at you, whatever, perfection is not necessarily the goal. I would love for this talk to be perfection, but I do not expect that, and I certainly hope you don't expect that either. Because perfection really is an unachievable, it's a myth, it's a trap, it's a hamster wheel you get on, you want everything to be perfect, spend your life seeking perfection. It's not going to be there. And there are always issues, there are always things that come up, but everything that comes up, as we get past that, we make it more and more perfect every day. But perfection is also not only the enemy of the good, but it's also the enemy of the realistic, the possible, and the fun. If it had to be perfect to be fun, we'd be looking a long way for fun. And I believe in fun. So perfectionism is just a high end of a version of fear. So you can use perfectionism as a reason to just not step out and do anything. Say, oh, well, I want it to be perfect. It has to be perfect. I'm not going to do it until it's perfect. I'm not going to start. And that's what happens. You don't start. So that makes perfectionism truly a sort of fantasy that is probably unreachable. But doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Shouldn't step forward, and it will be perfect in that moment. Nothing is ever beyond criticism. Somebody can always find fault. Feel free. Yes, there's fault here, but also there's a lot of perfection in the thoughts and the ideas and where things came from. In her book, she talks about elk talk. Larry D. Jones, and that name keeps coming up for her. Larry D. Jones, never heard of him. I don't think she ever remembered who that was, other than he created this tape that had elk calls on it. And she, as she was drinking with a friend of hers, I mean, she talks about this in the book, they were drinking and laughing at this whole elk call thing, that you go out and you call this humongous, magnificent beast to come in. Sure, yeah, of course that's going to work, right? So they went out and put the tape in, and they're out in the forest, and these elk calls are happening. They're bugles, and they're looking at each other and laughing, and all of a sudden they come into a clearing, and there is a massive elk standing right there looking at them and looking like he could just pounce on them, trample them, and they would never even walk out of there. But that's okay. They kind of look back and think, okay, so what are we going to do now? So, of course, the guy took the boom box with the elk calls, threw it way over that way. So, okay, again, yes. That was quite successful, but not necessarily in a way he wanted. So there are a few things that Elizabeth talks about, the learnings from this, that it's proof that you should never surrender, because it can always happen. You just don't know exactly when or where. And that no doesn't always mean no, and that miraculous turns of event happen to those who persist in showing up. And they showed up with those elk calls. Almost got trampled, but they didn't. So, yeah, just interesting. Think about things in your own life that your persistence calls into being, because there's a bunch. She also says that done is better than good, and I had a little bit of trouble with that for a moment. Not for very long, because as I said before, if you are waiting for perfection and you can't start until you know it will be perfect, well, there's not a lot of perfection around. Or the way we believe, everything is perfect. So everything is always in divine and perfect right order. So it's as perfect as it needs to be. But if you're looking for objective perfection in everything, good luck. Might not happen. Okay, one other story that she talked about, that there was an eminent American author and a non-published writer in the audience listening to this author, and he decides he's going to ask the eminent author what he should be doing, because he's done everything this author has talked about. He's written the books, he's done interviews, he's gone out on tour, he's this and that and the other. But this eminent author, of course, has success, and the non-published guy does not feel like he has had any success. So the response from the published author is that if something fascinates you, moves you, inspires you, if it doesn't work, you have no choice but to persevere. So in kind of a sneaky way, but yeah, keep at it, keep doing it. That is persistence, and the only way to reach success or perfection, as I have used in the title of this talk, is to continue to persist until you get that perfection. Perfection in the moment, the personal perfection that comes out of that. Okay, on the internet, of course, I always got to go check out the internet, but I was looking for quotes about persistence. And every single thing I found online about persistence was about success. So almost interchangeable in how those work. The first one was Thomas Edison, who says many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. Which, very backhanded, but I love it. You could work for 25 years and not succeed at what you wanted to do. But you don't know if the next step you take is the thing that is going to make it work and be perfect. Norman Vincent Peale puts it another way. He says it's always too soon to quit. I hear laughter over here. It is, no matter what. But again, if it's 2 years, if it's 3 minutes, if it's 25 years, you don't know what's the next thing around the corner. Be persistent. Keep at it until you get the results you want. This is Winston Churchill. I certainly know who that is, but I don't know a lot about him. You need to ask a history major. But anyway, and he said, success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. Be persistent, even. Yeah, okay. And then this is from Dave Kirpin. I don't know Dave Kirpin, but he's the founder and CEO of Inc., I guess the magazine, Inc. And he says, one essential trait that all successful people share is that they're persistent. Once, when I worked in sales for Radio Disney, I called a prospective client 37 times before closing the deal. I was probably considered a stalker, perhaps, but my persistence paid off, and I was able to earn my first big commission to a $20,000 commission check. But the 36th time he called, it didn't work. Took 37 tries, but you never know when you're going to be there, when you're going to be at that final thing that's going to do it. So you get to just keep persistent, keep pushing on. And Dennis Waitley, I'm not sure if you know Dennis Waitley, but he did a lot of seminars and speaking on like goal setting and how to get what you want out of life. And I loved him. I think it was when I was first teaching, so way back when I was in my early or mid-20s. And he says that success is almost totally dependent upon drive and persistence. The extra energy required to make another effort, try another approach, is the secret of winning. Yes, I mean, all these people, all these famous people that say things that I'm saying too, but not with quite as much glamour to it. Anyhow, so Dr. Ernest Holmes, who we all basically know and love, but I found on YouTube a talk that he did that was called Perseverance Pays Off. Throughout that YouTube, he alternated, or he just continually said persistence, perseverance, and he didn't seem to see any difference between the two, so I'm not seeing any difference either. But Edison, of course, I mentioned him before, but he did lots and lots and lots of experiments before he succeeded at all kinds of things. But he said when he failed, he just got closer to the answer. Good way to remember. He said, along the way, I'll find the answer. And he actually tried 2,000 different materials in search of a filament for the light bulb. So if he had only tried 1,999 times instead of 2,000, or that perfect number, oh man, we'd be sitting here with candlelight, right? I'm sure somebody else would have found something eventually, but 2,000 different materials before he found one that worked. I am forever grateful to him, because without light, I'm in big trouble. Anyway, okay, another example, of course, of persistence is prayer. We do spiritual mind treatment here, just one form of prayer. And the idea that we teach here is that you pray once and you get result, you get demonstration. And we do, but we may not always get the response or the answer to the prayer we really wanted. So sometimes you kind of tweak the prayer as you go. If I say I want or need something particular and I get something else, but it meets the criteria we were looking for to make me happy or to make me whatever, okay, do I want to stick with that? Do I want to change the way I'm praying? But it is persistence. We, not just you, we all pray. We speak our word, and Spirit hears that and enters that into what we call the creative process. And there is always, always, always a demonstration. There is always an answer to that prayer. God does not pick and choose. God answers all prayers. So if it's not really what you want, go back and look at what you actually asked for or what you said. If you want happiness, but you meant happiness in a brand new sports car, you didn't say that. You might be getting happiness in a wonderful afternoon with great friends, which sounds good to me. But prayer is also persistence. If at first you don't succeed, maybe you weren't looking in the right place, but go back and pray again. Go back, change what you're saying, change what you're thinking. And I do love that. Change your thinking, change your life. We all know that forever and ever and ever. Dr. Ernest Holmes says, if you don't succeed, try again. Life will never let you down. God will never let you down, which I do truly believe. So he says also that persistence is necessary for the development of faith. And again, what do you believe in? What is your faith? And as you check that out and try that and test that, which I think we all do, that's what it takes to build that faith that is unshakable. Then you get to look along the way and see what the results have been. He also says, surrender to the law of good, which is anything that gives you more life. All powers of the universe conspire for you. Yes, be persistent. Know what you want and speak that. He tells a story, again, in this book that, this was on YouTube with actual, the words of Ernest Holmes. And he's talking about a judge who is at home, and he and his family, everybody's gone to bed, and somebody in the middle of the night pounding on the door. It's like, So they yell from inside, go away, we're sleeping. Pounding keeps continuing. Go away, we're asleep. Pounding, pounding, pounding. And he finally goes to the door, and there's a lady who's asking him to do something that only a judge can do at that point. And she told him what she needed, and he said, I'm asleep. Come back tomorrow. Come back in the morning. And he went back to bed, and she goes to pounding, pounding, pounding on the door, which, okay. He eventually got up and did exactly what it was she wanted. So keep beating on the door until you get what you want. Might piss off the judge, but just saying, Okay, so thousands of experiments need to be done before you can prove a fact. I mean, that's how science works. You look at things over and over. You perform the same experiment repeatedly until you get the same answer, until you get the same results, on and on and on, with a large body of evidence. That's persistence, over and over until you succeed. And that's what I'm asking all of you to do when you have something in your life that you want, that you need, that makes sense to you, that brings more life, more good, more love into your life. Be persistent, even if you feel like whatever. Be persistent. Don't give up. Keep at it, because Spirit is always there. Spirit is always listening. Spirit is always giving each one of us exactly what we ask for. Ask right. Ask again. Be persistent. Change what it is you're thinking until you really do get out of this life what you want. Because Spirit, God, is there to give that to each one of us. Be persistent, and I'm done!